Welcome all the beautiful unwell. I am Hanyo, your Demonophile, and sorry, I've been indisposed, a little sickish. I'm not sure why. I mostly feel better. It's in my throat right now. That's why we haven't been. It's one of the reasons why I haven't gotten this out. Yeah, I'm recording this on Saturday morning before episode 3 comes out. So I just want to talk about episode 2 real quick. Tolito. It was a very interesting episode, and I know a lot of people did not like it, mostly because of the vampire incest, which that's very understandable. But I did want to just go down some of my thoughts and feelings about the episode. So the opening flashback to 1980, not 19, I think LESTAT says 1780 France, Afghan. I'm sure I was pronounced that part of France. That was very interesting. I really loved that. I loved how they put that together. A lot of cool references from the novel, from Lestat's backstory that they use here, and references they made of references back in season 1 of Interview with the Vampire. I really loved how they portrayed Gabriella, because Gabrielle, which was her name in the novel, very much was like that with Lestat growing up. Like whenever she was so depressed, so irritated, so upset with her life, she mostly just buried herself in novels and books and learning, and everything's got too hard for Lestat. She would help him here and there, but most of the time she would just kind of just bury herself in her novel, which we just see in the show. They have upgraded Lestat's abuse, because while Lestat was not treated fairly in the novel, he wasn't particularly abused by his father and brothers, at least not to the extent that the show makes it seem. The first part we see with him as a little boy, we see the monk talking about, taking Lestat in, and they reference the scholars and saints Lestat learned about from season 1. That was a cool touch. Gabriella paying for the tuition with her brooch was also very novel accurate, that she would sell off her jewelry and what little gold coins she had to get Lestat wherever he wanted or wherever he needed at the time to make him feel better. They're always just grand gestures. Like they're never like, "Oh, here you go, my son, because I love you. You're my precious little boy." Like, "Oh, that's sad. I guess I should buy him a couple of dogs." Like, Lestat sad. Here's a pretty little cloak. Here you go. Here you go, my boy. Cheever was a depressed, distant mother figure to Lestat. One part of the episode that I did not kind of like is how they kind of rushed Lestat's backstory, because while we didn't get like full on scenes of him in the monastery, I felt like the show was expanded on that. We get to see the monastery a little bit, and same thing when we see him as a teenager. They're talking about how he ran away with a cabin of actors of a carnival, and how the Marquis found them out, how the innkeeper wanted Lestat and them to pay for all the stuff that they bought. Once again, very, very book accurate, but we get to see them. And I think that's something we should have saw, because we know how much Lestat loves the theater, how much Lestat loves acting, to sing, to put on a performance. It feels like that should have been included in here. But again, we do know how this show loves to go back and review things from a different point of view, or go back and reveal things that we only got little hints of. So maybe we'll see Lestat at the monastery. Maybe we'll see Lestat with the original Carnival of Actors the first time he went up on stage. Now the whole thing was Lestat and the wolves. That is the thing. That was the most disappointing part of the episode for me, because Lestat killing the wolves is like the opening part of the autobiography section of the novel, and it's such a great epic scene. 'Cause I like how they go about the beginning of the hunt in the show, like with them at the dinner table, mother and youngest son demoted by dying father and the arrogant older brother, the disgusting brother, his wife, and all his children, which just look depressed. The villagers demanding the marquise help them with the wolves, and they're all like, "No, it's not our problem. Sorry, but it's not our problem." And then Lestat just licking his little gun, and he just points it at his brother and his stepsister, not stepsister, not step, sister-in-law. Oh, Lestat is now he's grown Lestat. They're not gonna f with him like they used to before, and that was a cool little visual storytelling. But also in the novel, it is a little different because they do kind of mention it here that the Marquise only wed Gabrielle or Gabriella because he wanted her wealth. Like the Leoncourt family squandered most of their wealth a long time ago, and after in the novel, after they wed, he basically spends all her money. So they're more or less broke, except for the trinkets of jewelry she owns. In the show, they do seem to have some wealth, so that's interesting. But in the novel, like one of the only reasons they have any food is because Lestat goes out and hunts for it. So that'd been a real cool little thing, like where Lestat says, "Oh yes, dine on this deer, dine on this pork that you so graciously stuff your face with, the same pork and deer that I went out and hunted for." I mean, a little nice little touch. You didn't see him hunting, but it'd been nice to hear him say it or at least mention it. Now, the actual fight with the wolves, like I said, it's very disappointing because we see the beginning of the fight in the show. Lestat sending his dog to flush them out, them scaring his horse, him getting only 2 shots in, the wolf pounces and then cuts. In the novel, it was set during winter. Lestat kind of like went up into the mountains. And like it was a big fight. Like he had his 2 dogs with him, and they were all fighting. Like it was a epic battle. How Anne Rice wrote it down. And I kind of understand why they couldn't do it. It probably would have been very expensive to shoot. One, shooting in the winter be kind of impossible. Probably not. But to work with 2 living wolves and to train them, to get Sam Reed to train with them, it probably would have taken too long. And if they did went full CGI, it would have looked horrible. Remember that CGI wolf and Mayfair witches? So maybe it was kind of good. We only got this cliff notes of a fight. It would have been better if we saw the whole thing. Maybe, like I said before, maybe we'll go back and revisit it. Maybe we'll actually see the fight later on the season, or maybe in season 4 or season 2, wherever you want to call it, the next season we're going to get. Gabriella treating Lestat's wounds is also very similar to the novel. Lestat is wounded. He's depressed from the death of his dogs, and only Gabriella is the one who can kind of bring his spirits back up a bit. And how one way she does bring his spirits up is she tells him this weird dream, and it's the same dream as how described it in the novel, where she goes out one night not caring about her family and takes all the men in town, young men, old men, strong men, burly men, dumb men, boys. She has her way with them, remembering she was married or any other man she's committed to. And Lestat says, "Besides me." Okay, so the whole Lannister thing that they have in the show is a little different from the novel. It's a little different. See, the book spoiler, just as book spoiler. In the novel, at least how I read it, it was not really incest or incestuous. At least not physical incestuous. They had a very weird relationship, a kind of codependence, that they were codependent on each other's happiness. And while Lestat very much loved his mother and loved her as a mother, Gabriella didn't really care for Lestat. Like I said, she did love Lestat. She would try to help him whenever she could, give him gifts and gestures for him to be happy, but she never she barely did with an iota of affection. She never said, I love you, Lestat, or I want my baby boy to be proud and be good and strong. She's like, oh, you're depressed because of the monastery? Oh, you're depressed because your acting troupe sold you out? Fine, come on with me. Pick these two dogs that you want. You happy now? You got your puppies? Okay, let's go. And that was kind of her attitude. And it also seems like she was what's the word I'm looking for, living through Lestat, because she, as a woman at the time, couldn't really do much, and clearly she was the smartest one in the household, so she did have like an envy to Lestat, where she loved him but also wanted to be him. She loved him, but she also hated him because he could do the things that she could not. And we see this the moment she becomes a vampire, that well, she does love Lestat to be with him, to try to make him happy. The moment they leave Paris, she goes off on her own, like a lot. Like she'll go off on her own for days, weeks, or maybe even months before coming back to find Lestat. Like, oh, you're still here, my son. Okay. Well, I was doing this and that. Oh, you're looking for other vampires to spend your time with? Pfft, whatever. And she's very dismissive of this, of him. Now, the allegory of grooming, though, the whole thing with Gabriella and Lestat having an actual, the whole thing with Lestat and Gabriella actually having an incestual relationship, with Gabriella grooming Lestat, I don't particularly see that in the novel. I mean, I can understand why a lot of fans read into that interpretation, because it's kind of there, but not really. It's more like this awful thing that developed between them, and they didn't really act on it till they became vampires. But then again, with how Anne Rice wrote other books, like the Mayfair Witches trilogy, incest, abuse, grooming are very heavy topics in those books. So I can kind of see why some people read into Gabriella and Lestat being that way, and why they took that route for the show. Jumping back into present day, Lestat wakes up. Him and his band have this big argument where he's like, "Wait, you're a natural vampire?" "Yes, I am." "And you're pretty lucky I am, because there's so many times all of you died and you just never knew about it." I do love that conversation, because in the novel, it's never really be cleared up if the band knew he was an actual vampire or not. I think that part was kind of left to your own device. So this was a cool little reveal, or not reveal, but conversation that needed to happen. His little quirk outs when they start bringing up the book, like, do you have the fire gift? He likes it on fire. Oh, when's the last time you see Armand? And this little face he gives Salamander, like, what the fuck, dude? Stop talking about him. No one likes Armand. He's not that interesting. Also, the black licorice comment from Tough Cookie. I mean, I never had black licorice before, but if the black licorice in question was Louis de Pointulac, I can understand why Lestat would want to be in bed all day eating it. But yeah, but this argument spirals out. Alex, is it Alex or Larry? Yeah, I think it was Alex. Alex, he quits the band because he actually has good morals, and he's not morally corrupt like Lestat, the other band members, and myself. So he leaves the band. But I do like Lestat does give him a bit of courtesy, like, go Alex. You are the only true musician here. Clear your mind. And if you want to come back, you can come back. But please be warned, do not tell anybody, because it will not end well for you or your brother. And I wonder if that is Lestat threatening him, or just Lestat letting him know, like, hey, remember those other vampires I told you about? They're kind of pissed off at me, and by versa you. Yeah, you don't really want to be running your mouth. And I also do like how they are explaining that Lestat isn't much of a killer, at least much as a killer as we saw in the first two seasons. Because in the novel, it is shown that Lestat very, very rarely kills innocent victims. He only kills murderers, evildoers, and the such. I mean, there was this one point in the novel where Lestat killed a mother and her daughter, but I don't remember if, I guess I read that a couple days ago. I remember if Lestat killed them, or just drained them a bit. But it's just a little weird thing where, yeah, he's like, I need some blood so bad. I'm freaked out of my mind. Need some blood. Oh, homeless woman and her child. It's the wrong place, wrong time for you. Lestat does say when he does bite people during their performances, he is simply draining them. He's taking enough blood until they pass out. Then Dr. Farid gives him a transfusion and probably some good old vitamins. And he's on his way. Other blood he gets from the farm, which we do learn here is a collection of donors, I guess secret donors around the country or around other places around the world. But we do remember that he does have Yarva, that his lookalike, to go around town and posing as him. So I guess Lestat still just goes out and kill people every once in a while, but maybe those are the evildoers. Was this Lestat's motive always in the novel? Or was this something Lestat picked up because of Louis? Who knows? Maybe we'll get a little confirmation on that. The show takes us to Toledo, Ohio. I did not know that was a place. So, yeah, I actually learned something interesting. I actually learned something useful. But no, we picked up on Toledo with Lestat and Gabriella discussing their relationship, and Lestat is a little weirded out with how she's acting to him, and he's like, "Can we just take it civil? Can we just be mother and son, vampire and fledgling, and nothing else?" And she said she agrees to try. And we do learn a couple interesting things, mostly that Lestat did see Gabriella 2 times last century. And this is very different from the novel, because in the novel, last time Lestat sees her is right before he takes his dirt nap and right before he goes to New Orleans. So that's around, I forgot, what year does the first novel take place in? Was it 1790? So yeah, last time Lestat saw her was around 1780, like right during the French Revolution. And then he does not meet her until 1984. So this is very different. We learn that she found him. One of the times she found him was right after the murder plot by Claudia and Louis. So that is very, very interesting. I really want to know how that turns out. And we also learned that she is very much her book counterpart, where she prefers spending most of her times in the forest and in nature. Did she just say she was glamping? And then last episode, during her text, she said she was trapped in the mud, because she is one of the vampires that like to sleep in the earth sometimes. So instead of having a coffin or a very secure safety room, she'll literally just dig herself under the earth and sleep there for the day. Mother and son, maker and fledgling, use their cloud gift to roam around the city, where they take their interest on these group of businessmen. They hunt and stalk them throughout the night, which lands them to the strip joint. One of the dancing girls that Lestat takes his time with is actually a fellow YouTuber who reacts to the show. She and I think her husband, they're very funny. Go check them out. Lestat gets a phone call from his lawyer. So the owner of the hotel from last episode, he is upset from the destruction and violence. So he wants to meet with Lestat, have a personal fan interview. And Lestat's like, do I have to fuck him? But this person is Mr. Thomas Pitt. I laughed out loud when I heard that one. Then we cut to the scene we seen in, was it the first trailer? Where Lestat, the meeting with the lawyers is not just Mr. Thomas Pitt. That Mr. Thomas Pitt is none other than Louis de Pointe-du-Lac. And this is the first time they met since their reconciliation. This is the first time they talked since the book came out. And in case you have not noticed, The name Thomas Pitt is a clear reference to the original Interview with the Vampire movie with Tom Cruise playing Lestat and Brad Pitt playing Louis. And this scene is more or less what we saw in that original trailer, just extended. The bickering between these two. Yeah, them meeting up because of the damages in the hotel, which Louis owns. It's just an excuse for him to talk with Lestat. Like, I think you're suffering. I think your songs are a cry for help. The songs are not about you. And the next song Lestat sings is called Why Do I Have to Feel? And the pettiness of Lestat, who's having all sorts of sex. Lestat, who loves, not being monogamous, or at least from Louis' telling. He's the first thing he sees when he's with his lord, like, are you two sleeping together? Like, oh yeah. I mean, he's unavailable, unemotional, so it's perfect for me. Are you sleeping with Claire? And the response Lestat gives is so it's legendary. It's legendary. But also, we learned that Louis owns 45% of Lestat's merchandise. Not exactly sure what this means. Does it mean has Louis been buying all Lestat stuff, or does Louis own or partially own the company that produces his material? Because that is gonna be hilarious. I want to see the rest of that fight. Jumping to the concert, where we get the new song, Why Do I Have to Feel? And then compared to all the other songs, which have been energetic, dark, and moody, this one is mostly just moody. This one is just Lestat more or less saying, why do I have to feel these things? Why do I have to go through all this? Oh, poor me, the vampire Lestat. And the way Lestat slows down time, because we saw this in the trailer, the way Lestat slows down time, flies up to the stage just to slam his annotated version of the book to Louis. Like, yeah, you want to know why I'm so upset, why I'm so pissed off? Here it is. Here's your book of lies. And this one, I love this one. Just the shots of it, the imagery of it was so beautiful. I just wish it wasn't the slow down time. To slow down time, because in the novel Lestat was more like, yeah, I'm gonna put out vampire secrets, I'm gonna do vampire things, I'm just gonna let people believe me or not. Like, he wanted people to believe he was a vampire, but he wasn't doing a whole lot of his vampire powers and tricks to them. Show Lestat, he wants to do the tour, he wants to have people understand him, but he doesn't really care or doesn't really want them to know about vampires, because of the whole Yarda thing and here slowing down time. I think it would have been really cool in the moment that Lestat just freezes time just to go up to Louis, and everyone in the crowd sees it. And then we could see people's reacting to it, like, was that really real, or was the singer just using wires and we just didn't notice? Like, I want the disbelief. I want to see the disbelief in the crowd where they're trying to justify the clearly magical powers that they see. After the concert, Lestat and Gabriella moved to this Italian restaurant that one of the businessmen in the strip joint was talking about. We see all the staff are dead. We're not sure how much of that was Lestat and how much of that was Gabriella. Gabriella, she is interested in Louis. She's looking at Louis' picture that she took during the show. The comment she makes about it while Lestat is playing on the piano. She says, I can see why you gave him a daughter, and I can see why you took her back. And the look Lestat gives her, because that line, I see why you gave him a daughter. Yes, he's beautiful, brooding, and I can see why you fell for him. And I can see why you took her back. As in, when they betrayed you, why you killed her or was part of her death. And while I'm pretty sure we all know that Lestat did not want to be a part of the trial, we're still not exactly sure what part he played in it, or at least how he was convinced to do it. I'm pretty sure we'll see that later on. The look he gives her when she says that last line, that I love the look Sam Reed gives Lestat. He's so beautifully animated. Like, you could tell that if that wasn't Gabriella, if that was just some random ass vampire or mortal who said that about Claudia, they'd be dead in a heartbeat. Lestat was so angry, so pissed off. And I thought we were having a good time. And then Lestat begins to sing this song. So on the YouTube, this song is called La Fontaine de Song. La Fontaine de Song. Now, I was trying to look the lyrics up because he sings it in French. I quickly read over a couple of them, but the version by William Agler, it reads, I'm going to sing it like Lestat. It seems to me at times my blood flows out in waves, like a fountain that gushes in rhythmical sobs. I hear it clearly, escaping with long murmurs, but I feel in my body in vain to find the wound. Across the city in a tormented field, it courses, making islands of paving stone, satisfying the thirst of every creature, and turning the color of all nature to red. I have often asked insidious wines to lull me to sleep for a day. My wasting terror. Wine makes the eyes sharper, the eyes more sensitive. I have sought in love a forgetful sleep. Love, but love is to me only a bed of needles, make to slake the thirst of those cruel prostitutes. Now that is a very interesting poem, and it does feel very fitting. It feels like a vampire song. While Lestat is saying this, we do another flashback. We see the flashback of Lestat coming to Gabriella while she's dying on her deathbed, her taking off his glasses and seeing his vampire eyes, him making her a vampire. And we do it's not as unique as is in the novel, how we see her quickly adjust to becoming a vampire, where it took Lestat a few days. She just jumps into the new being lifestyle right away. And we see her first suggestion after becoming the undead is to go to the Lestat homeland, not the Lestat, the Liancourt Manor, and murder all of the family members. Now, this is a very beautifully shot murder sequence, and I love every bit of it. But it also goes to the novel, where this is a very, very big difference, because in the novel, no matter how much Lestat hated his family, he did protect them. He did love them, or at least cared after them. In the interview with the vampire, he took care of his dying blind father. And in the vampire Lestat, after he becomes a vampire, he sends a lot of money to his family just so they can get by. He sends gifts to his nieces and nephews because he loves them. At least those are the only family members he truly cares about. And it feels weird that Lestat is kind of going around killing them. I don't know. For the show version of this character, not so weird, but this is a very big change from the novel that I'm not sure how I feel about this, because in the novel, these weren't really important characters, as they were part of Lestat's backstory, but it's clear he didn't want to care about them too much, so he did not settle on them. It also does good to show how Lestat became the Lestat that we saw in the first two seasons. So I don't know how I feel about this one. What I do love, though, is the ending of the scene where, as the sun is coming up, Gabriella and Lestat go sleep in a a tomb far close to the house, the tomb of other dead Liancourts. And as that's happening, the rest of the family, all the nieces and nephews, all the kidlets, come back, and they discover the bodies, and Lestat is still awake. He is wide-eyed as he hears some screaming and bloody murder, screaming in terror after finding their family like that, and it haunts him. And I do love that. That no matter how much he hated his family, Lestat did not want to hurt the children, and he done so very indirectly, or at least non-curiously not thinking about them at the moment. I hope we go back on that. Because I do want to see these more human moments of Lestat. because how the episode starts, we get a very human Lestat, very human, not the very confident actor we've known throughout the show. And then we immediately cut to him as the bloodthirsty vampire. Also, maybe this is a bit of Gabriella's influence, because Gabriella, she very is much a groomer, at least in this interpretation, because we do see the part where they are stalking the businessman. They're way outside his hotel room. Lestat's like, oh, we can just jump them now because the guy's with a prostitute. They're like, no. She's like, no, I want to kill with you. Also, my son, who I'm trying to have nothing but a motherly relationship with, how much sex are you getting? Do you like it? And when Lestat says, of course I like it, but it's nothing like blood drinking. Blood drinking is so much better. It's so much better for vampires. And she, without his consent or anything, she just slices his neck and starts to drink from him. Yeah, she is pushing his boundaries. She can get him to do things he normally wouldn't want to do or probably wouldn't think about doing. So I would love to see if he has there is some, what's the word we're looking for? Heat between them because of the killing of the family, which was her idea. He did go along with it, but he probably wouldn't have done it if it wasn't for her. So I want to know if we're going to get any touchback on that. The last two scenes I did not talk about is between Daniel and Louis. And this is also an extended version of what we saw in the first behind the scenes, the first look at the show, where they're in a bar or a restaurant and they're discussing the book. I do like how Lestat's overview says that, yes, well, there will be moments in the story that you need to understand how I woke the queen that do not have me in the scene present. I will be speaking for these other people. And yes, it's going to be how a little in my version. So if it happened in a bar, it's because I said it happened in a bar. I do not know. And you want to know is it'd be kind of interesting how this is played. Like, is Lestat making some of this up? Is Lestat only taking liberties with the things he doesn't know? Like, he learns that this meeting happened between Louis and Daniel, and he's just filling in the blanks. Daniel says he has these moments where he does feel Armand. Like, the rapture happens, everyone around him disappears, and he can just feel Armand somewhere out there in the world. Now, in the novels, this wasn't really a thing, at least I don't think it was, where a vampire can feel their maker. But we do see this in season 2. I mean, Louis says that never happened between me and Lestat. But we do see this in season 2 where Madeline could feel Louis' emotions. Like, she couldn't really, tell what he was thinking, but she could feel his emotions. And then Louis constantly hallucinates people, especially Lestat. Maybe that is his version of the vampire bond. Or maybe Louis really just has some form of schizophrenia that clashes with his vampire brain. Daniel gives this very sad recollection where he tries to reconnect with his daughters and just can't. The first time, one of them didn't answer. The second time, he hangs up. He's not sure, I guess, if he still has a place in their lives because their relationship was very strained before he became a vampire. They don't know what he's a vampire now. They probably only know about the success of the book. So who knows? Maybe we'll meet them. Maybe we won't. Louis says he met Claudia, or at least someone who very much looked like Claudia, if Claudia lived to be in her early 20s. He says it was in New York. He followed her around. He followed her to a diner where she works, and then he just left. I think this comes back to that part we saw in the last sneak peek they gave to us. Not the current clip that they released, because I'm not going to watch that because the show is coming out. The episode's coming out on Sunday. But the sneak peek that they released before the episode 1, where we see Louis and Lestat in a car, and Louis is asking Lestat to go check to see if that's her. So maybe this girl comes back again. Maybe they connect with this new version of Claudia. Because in the novels, Claudia does not come back. Claudia is dead. I mean, I think her ghost comes back up in Queen of the Dam and probably in another book. But Claudia is gone. She was burnt by the sun, and then they spread her ashes. So there's not really a way for you to come back after that. And I hope they don't change Claudia's fate, because that'd just be a very, very big change that I would definitely will not like. But yeah, but so after giving that heartfelt recollection, Daniel's like, I need to my producers really, really want to meet you. And out comes in Raglan James and Rashid. And I really do love, because we know this is the stats version of this telling, that how much more animated the guy who plays Raglan is. I mean, he's always kind of been wacky and animated, but he feels a lot closer to how he was acting in the Talamasca show than how he was acting in an Interview with the Vampire and the opening of the Vampire Lestat, which I know a lot of fans are thinking that the Raglan James we see in the first episode of the Vampire Lestat isn't really Raglan. I'm not going to mention more than that. But I think I said that answer a while ago. So I'm gonna leave you guessing. Now, they're trying to get Louis to do them a favor, to try and get him to take care of the Detroit Coven, because they're selling drugs or wreaking havoc. They're converting more people, and Louis like, ugh, I don't want to do it. It's your problem. And they mentioned that Louis killed the Dubai Coven. Like, he killed the Dubai Coven, I'm guessing, either after the book came out, or maybe he killed them when he moved to Dubai before the events of season 1. We're not exactly sure. And then there was this mention, yeah, Louis killed 31, but technically it was 32, because there was this Talamasca agent there that Louis killed that no one particularly liked from Raglan's point of view, called Agent Talbot. Now this was a big who the what now? Because Agent Talbot is a reference to David Talbot. David Talbot is a very, very important character in the Vampire Chronicles. He is introduced in the third novel, The Queen of the Damned. He has references made to him in the Mayfair Witches trilogy, and he kind of becomes Lestat's best friend in the novels. Lestat turns him to a vampire. Spoiler, sorry about that. And him, David, and Louis kind of turn into a little throuple in a way. I guess you could read it like that. And I know fans are very split on this character. He is pretty disgusting compared to modern standards. He is very disgusting compared to real world standards. And I understand why not people like him. But then again, this is the Vampire Chronicles. Almost all the characters are repugnant in some way. But I can't understand why a lot of fans don't like him. I think he's a very interesting character. I thought there could have been ways you could have tweaked him or altered him, at least for this new continuity. But then again, they already kind of have the Daniel Malloy in the show is very much a mixture of Daniel from the books and David Talbot. They are pretty mixed together, especially because in the new Tales of the Vampires, which is kind of like this weird little break-off segment of the Vampire Chronicles, those books are written in universe by not Daniel Malloy. They are written in universe by David Talbot, who becomes the new interviewer to the vampires. So I can kind of see why they're like, nah, let's not do David Talbot. We already got Daniel Malloy. Let's kind of mix these two characters together. I can see that. I'm not sure how much I'm going to like this. I guess it depends on how the show does it and how much I love David when I'm doing my reread of the Chronicles. I don't know. Still don't know how to feel about this. I'm kind of pissed off, but then again, I also want to see what they're going to do with it. Who knows? Louis, he doesn't want to do it. He's tired of other covens. He just wants to go back to his home and, I don't know, have Sam do more dumb stuff for him to repay his debt. But Raglan, he knows how to get Louis. So he's like, oh, really? I'm pretty sure you'll be interested in the leader of the Detroit Coven, this guy named Killer. Don't know him. Really? He came off a boat in Copenhagen. And so what? Oh, your Claudia knows him. Claudia knows him as Bruce. You know, her Bruce. The Bruce she spent several days with. So yeah, Louie's gonna go on a little murder spree, a little murder hunt. So this is gonna be fun. This is gonna be fun. Next episode is all about, from what looks like, it seems to be all about Lestat meeting Nikki, which seems to be very different from the novel. So I'm very curious how they're going to do that. It looks like this could be where we see Lestat is made a vampire, and we might get the Your Biggest Fan song might pop up here, which has been my favorite song so far that the vampire Lestat has produced. So yeah, this is my ramblings about episode 2. Wish I got this out a little bit earlier. Wanted to do a little bit more for this video. I always don't have the time. Never have the time. But yeah, see y'all when episode 3 comes out, my beautiful unwells. Catch y'all later. Drink some yummy blood. Sleep in your coffin. Till the next time you meet the vampire Lestat.